Here is your *** clean YouTube script, no timestamps, smooth narration, strong hook and retention, *** based on the transcript you provided. I kept the *** YouTube commentary style ** so it works well for a sports analysis video. Building a basketball super team is not simply about stacking talent. It's a complex equation involving court geometry, psychological sacrifice, and strict tactical discipline. When you assemble a roster filled with all-stars, MVPs, and franchise cornerstones, the biggest obstacle usually isn't the opponent on the other side of the court. The real challenge is internal friction. Every player arrives with habits built on their professional teams. On those teams, they are the primary engines of the offense. They control the tempo, dominate the usage rate, and dictate how the game flows. But when they put on the Team USA jersey, the entire ecosystem changes. Suddenly they are no longer asked to be the main engine. Instead, they must become highly specialized and ruthlessly efficient components of a much larger machine. That transition, from alpha star to disciplined role player, is one of the hardest psychological and tactical adjustments in international basketball. Today, we are not focusing on clickbait headlines or the toxic internet narratives about jealousy, envy, or locker room drama. This isn't reality TV. We're interested in basketball strategy and high-level analysis. Specifically, we're going to break down a recurring tactical issue that appeared during the recent Team USA exhibition games. The focus is on the friction between two offensive ideas, the modern appeal of the point-forward role and the timeless importance of the traditional outlet pass in transition basketball. At the center of this situation are two very different players, Angel Reese, one of the most dominant interior forces in the game, and Caitlin Clark, arguably the most dangerous transition point guard of her generation. What we're seeing on the court isn't a soap opera. It's a clash of basketball philosophies, a breakdown in offensive hierarchy, and a clear reminder that role discipline is the foundation of championship basketball. To understand the issue, we first need to look at how the modern big player has evolved. In today's game, positional boundaries are more blurred than ever. Players like Nikola Jokic and Giannis Antetokounmpo regularly grab defensive rebounds and immediately push the ball up the floor themselves. This strategy is commonly called the grab and go. When used correctly, it can be devastating. The defense often doesn't have time to match up properly, and a larger player pushing the ball in transition can create instant mismatches against smaller guards. Angel Reese has the athleticism and versatility to explore that type of role. When she secures a rebound, her instinct is often to put the ball on the floor and initiate the fast break herself. It's a natural instinct shaped by modern basketball trends and her own desire to expand her skill set beyond the paint. On many teams, that decision would be completely acceptable, sometimes even encouraged. But USA Basketball is not a typical team. And the player standing just a few feet away from her asking for the outlet pass is not a typical point guard. Because when the ball goes to Caitlin Clark in transition, the entire geometry of the court changes. Her vision, deep passing range, and ability to deliver full-court assists can instantly turn a rebound into a scoring opportunity before the defense even realizes what's happening. That's where the philosophical conflict begins. Should the rebounder initiate the break with a grab and go? Or should the ball immediately find one of the most lethal transition playmakers in the world? That decision might seem small in the moment, but at the highest level of international basketball, those tiny tactical choices can determine whether an offense looks chaotic or unstoppable. And that's exactly the dynamic we're going to break down. Let's freeze the frame for a moment and break down the exact biomechanics and tactical implications of this possession. The ball comes off the rim, and Angel Reese uses her elite positioning and physical strength to secure the defensive rebound. It's a strong, fundamental play, exactly what you want from a dominant interior presence. Immediately, Caitlin Clark slides into Reese's peripheral vision. Her hands are up, her body is positioned correctly, and she clearly establishes herself as the primary outlet. This is textbook fast break initiation. In basketball, the fastest way to move the ball up the court is not by dribbling. It's by passing. But instead of executing the simple outlet pass, Reese turns her body and physically shields the ball, ironically protecting it from her own point guard. She then decides to initiate the fast break herself. From a purely analytical perspective, this decision creates a major tactical problem. When a big player like Reese pushes the ball against a retreating international defense, the defensive pressure remains relatively low. The defenders aren't forced into panic mode. They know that while Reese is extremely dangerous around the rim, she doesn't present the same immediate threats as a primary guard. She doesn't carry the same elite court vision, the same ability to deliver pinpoint transition passes, or the constant 30-foot pull-up shooting threat that players like Clark bring to the floor. Because of that, the defense can comfortably retreat. They fall back, build a wall in the paint, and focus on protecting the basket. And once that happens, the entire geometry of the floor begins to collapse. The spacing shrinks, passing lanes disappear, and the offensive advantage of the fast break is completely neutralized. Now watch closely what happens next, because this compromised spacing doesn't just affect the ball handler. It ends up disrupting the entire possession for everyone on the floor.
That's right, she gives it to Caitlin Clark. As she's giving it to Caitlin Clark, Dearica Hamby commits an offensive foul. Now I don't want to make excuses.
Because Angel Reese is handling the ball in this moment, the timing of the entire transition offense immediately falls out of rhythm. On the wing, Dearica Hamby, one of the most effective rim runners in the game, is sprinting down the floor exactly the way she's coached to. Her objective is simple: beat the defense down the court and establish deep position early in the shot clock. If the ball were already in the hands of Caitlin Clark at the logo, the situation would look completely different. Clark processes transition angles almost instantly. Her peripheral vision works like radar, allowing her to read the floor in real time. That's why she's capable of throwing 40 or 50-foot passes on a frozen rope, hitting a teammate perfectly in stride before the defense even has time to react. But in this possession, because the ball is being advanced by a frontcourt player who naturally reads the floor a fraction of a second slower, the timing breaks down. The pass comes late. Hamby reaches her spot in the paint, expecting the ball to arrive. Instead, the window closes. The defense recovers and collapses. Now, suddenly out of rhythm and trying to hold her positional advantage, Hamby ends up committing an offensive foul that could have been completely avoided. The possession ends in a turnover. And it's important to understand something here: this isn't about bad intentions or selfishness. This is simply the mathematical consequence of poor offensive hierarchy. When the ball isn't in the optimal decision-maker's hands at the right moment, the entire sequence slows down by just enough time for the defense to recover. To truly understand how much offensive potential is lost in these situations, we need to imagine the alternative scenario. What happens when the correct tactical discipline is maintained? What happens when egos are set aside and the most efficient basketball decision is made? Because when that happens, the entire geometry of the court changes.
It's crazy. The worst part of all this is that if Angel Reese just actually gave her the ball, things like this would be happening to her. She puts her hands up and guess what? Caitlin gives it back to her.
This is what basketball nirvana looks like. It's the exact same group of players on the floor, but this time the roles are aligned correctly. And the difference in the defensive reaction is immediate. The moment Caitlin Clark receives the ball in the backcourt, the entire defense goes into a state of tactical emergency. Why? Because Clark is a legitimate threat to pull up and hit a three-pointer from 30 or even 35 feet. That shooting gravity forces the point of attack defender to extend their coverage far beyond the three-point line. They can't simply retreat into the paint and wait for the play to develop. That single adjustment completely changes the geometry of the floor. Clark's range stretches the defense to its breaking point. The spacing expands, defenders are forced to scramble, and suddenly the court opens up in ways that simply didn't exist a moment earlier. And who benefits the most from a stretched, panicked defense? The bigs who are willing to sprint the floor. In this sequence, Clark immediately recognizes the defensive shift. She lifts her head, scans the court, and instantly spots the opening. Within a split second, she delivers a perfectly weighted pass right into the shooting pocket of her teammate, creating an effortless scoring opportunity. This is the power of elite transition playmaking. The ironic part of this entire situation is that Angel Reese is actually the perfect partner for Clark in transition and in the pick-and-roll game. Their skill sets don't clash. In theory, they complement each other perfectly. Clark is the ultimate offensive initiator. She manipulates defenses with her eyes, her pace, and the velocity of her passes. Meanwhile, Reese thrives as a relentless interior finisher, a physical force who excels at running the floor, catching the ball in motion, and finishing through contact. Put those two abilities together with proper role discipline, and the result can be devastating for opposing defenses. And we don't have to imagine how effective that partnership could be. We've already seen flashes of it working perfectly in real game situations.
This right over here, we could go back 2 years, rookie season, in the All-Star game. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese running the floor together in the All-Star game. Boom. Attack the middle. There's Angel Reese. Defense collapses. Drop off. Angel Reese, bucket. I mean,
Look at this footage from the All-Star game. This is the blueprint. This is the formula that should terrify the rest of the basketball world. Clark calls for the screen. Reese sets a hard, legal pick and rolls aggressively to the rim. The defense, terrified of Clark's perimeter shooting, commits two bodies to the ball handler. This is called a hard hedge or a blitz. By sending two defenders at Clark, the defense has essentially surrendered the possession. Clark stays composed, reads the blitz perfectly, and drops a soft, perfectly timed pocket pass to a rolling Angel Reese. Reese catches the ball in stride, attacks the completely unprotected rim, and scores an automatic bucket. Pure, unguardable basketball. Notice what's happening here: no dribbling isolations, no hero ball, no experimental point-forward chaos. Everything is based on fundamental spacing, reading the defense, and punishing the numerical advantage in the paint. So why does the breakdown happen sometimes? Why does a player like Reese, who can dominate just by running the floor and catching passes from a generational playmaker, feel the need to hijack the transition offense? That brings us to the core of elite national team basketball: coaching and accountability. The responsibility to fix this does not lie with the fans. It does not lie on the internet. It lies squarely on the shoulders of the coaching staff, specifically head coach Kara Lawson. At this level, coaching isn't about teaching someone to shoot or dribble. It's about defining roles with absolute, uncompromising clarity. Lawson must pull these players into the film room, turn off all distractions, and show them the raw, undeniable data. She needs to show clips of the grab-and-go experiments that result in turnovers, broken spacing, and stagnant possessions. Then, contrast those with clips of outlet passes leading to wide-open layups, defensive collapses, and efficient scoring opportunities. The message must be clinical, devoid of emotion. When bigs initiate the fast break, points per possession drop and turnovers spike. When the rebound immediately goes to the primary point guard, transition efficiency jumps dramatically. The numbers don't care about highlight reels or social media narratives. They only care about efficiency. Team USA isn't lacking talent, they're temporarily lacking offensive discipline. And the beauty? This is entirely fixable. It doesn't require trades. It doesn't require a roster overhaul. It doesn't require drama or envy narratives. Basketball is about maximizing advantages. Caitlin Clark's maximum advantage? Ball in her hands, reading a retreating defense in the open floor. Angel Reese's maximum advantage? Dominating the offensive glass and running the floor to catch passes in stride. If the team establishes this hierarchy, if every player prioritizes the name on the front of the jersey over their stat line, they won't just win. They'll revolutionize international basketball. They'll become an unstoppable, synchronized machine, dismantling opponents with precision. But if they continue blurring responsibilities, letting the allure of the point forward override the elite point guard's necessity, they'll keep making the game harder than it needs to be. The choice is theirs. And the entire basketball world is watching to see which path they take.
The mistakes that you guys made was something that Puerto Rico was doing, or were some of them also a little self-inflicted?
I think it was mostly self-inflicted. I thought we missed some defensive coverages, and then I think especially with how much we fouled too, like it really limits us, especially in transition when we want to play fast. It's hard to push, especially off of a fake free throw when you're sitting in the press.
It was obviously a big win by a large margin for Team USA, but what can you say about what you saw about Team Puerto Rico tonight?
Yeah, I thought they played with a lot of fire. I thought they were aggressive. I thought the crowd was incredible. The fans were great, so really fun environment to play.
It wasn't the best game offensively for you guys. What would you like to improve upon Italy coming up next?
Yeah, I think taking care of the ball is probably going to be our main focus. I think we could have moved the ball a bit better. I don't know how many assists we had, but I thought we could have probably passed the ball a little bit better. I think about these games, the beat was really long, and we want to get easy finishes at the rim, but I think also getting paid would be ready to take it out of
And would you say that it was due to Puerto Rico's defense or just offense not falling?
Puerto Rico did a great job, but also I think we could be better offense.
Kara talked. Kara talked about doing different lineups, different rotations to test out that chemistry. Just how did you feel tonight, yesterday, with all those different
Yeah, I think
rotations?
it's going to be a work in progress. Everybody trying to kind of find the flow a little bit, especially when we're going 5 in, 5 out. But, you got to be flexible. That's kind of what USA is. That's what USA basketball is all about. Some games you're going to play a lot. Some games you're not going to play as much. You might come off the bench, you might start. So, you got to be ready when you're going to respond. I think everybody's done a good job of that. And, we don't even know the starting lineup until we're locked before the game. So, you just get ready and go out and play. Good?